Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Microfinance sector in India is undergoing a multitude of changes amidst a constantly evolving regulatory landscape, shifting consumer demand and technological advancements. The sector is expected to widen its horizon beyond microfinance to transform the livelihoods of the borrowers. With this backdrop, Small Industries Development Bank of India or SIDBI recently organized the second edition of SIDBI National Microfinance Congress to deliberate and understand the emerging needs of the microfinance sector and envisage the vision of microfinance in India. The event saw massive participation from more than 200 organizations and 300 plus national and international delegates. The event kick-started with the inaugural session where eminent dignitaries, key policymakers, business leaders and stakeholders from diverse sectors gave their special addresses.
Role and importance of microfinance industry has definitely reduced over the years because of the new BC model that has been employed by banks and further opening of common service centers, etc. So it's not that critical as it used to be, but it still plays a very, very important role. They are still present in 619 out of 722 districts of the country. We are committed to to support the poor. And a demonstrative piece of this is that we have partnered with USA now, and through which we are going to support 20,000 women entrepreneurs every year through this USA Silai Swavalambi initiative that we've taken. Obviously, the future course of the industry will be actually determined by the various partnerships that we can create, that you can yourself create. And that is what is going to be the focus, how to help micro-lending, how to focus on the poor borrowers. And I think the primary purpose that I see this Congress is to consider all this and to anticipate and resolve the challenges that we see might be coming to us, to confront us in the coming future.
It is indeed a great pleasure to be among all of you here today. This Congress is quite opportune and timely, as after nearly a decade and a half of efforts in financial inclusion, where banks, NBFCs, microfinance institutions, and other financial institutions have played a significant role. Today we are at an inflection point needing to unleash the next set of financial inclusion interventions for converting a large part of our population to efficient consumers of financial services. With the technological transformation taking place in associated areas, I see a significant role for the microfinance industry in this process, including in identifying, enabling, hand-holding a sizable set of last-mile population to consume financial services rationally, to grow out of poverty and become productive citizens of the country.
Mass-scale movement is required on financial literacy. And I think very pertinent point came during the discussion, whose responsibility is this? Is this something, responsibility of Government of India or state government or even what you say, Reserve Bank of India regulator? The point came, no, it's the responsibility of the business organizations. They will get benefited if the client is financially literate, he can use the services in a better fashion, better manner. So I think this is something point of realization. The awareness is not something the MFI industry should always be looking at the government. There's something which has to come from within also. SROs can take this point.
Microfinance empowers people, especially the poorest and the weakest, to gain control over their life and destiny. The access to money in times of crisis could make or break their life. It could decide whether you live a life of dignity or servitude. It could assure aspirational living or plunge into despair. Access to finance matters more than my words could ever describe.
MSME is the only source, and that is why I'm so happy SIDBI is organizing this. MSME is the only source that can meet the aspirations of the people. MSMEs, about 6 crore of them, employing nearly 12 crore of people, on an average 2, many times single sole proprietor, producing more than 6,000 items. These MSMEs need support and hand-holding.
So SIDBI's private PSIG program has hopefully contributed to and has certainly been part of the broader progress of the microfinance industry that Asim outlined to us earlier on, and thank you very much for that enlightening presentation. The story is one of remarkable progress in terms of the number of people covered by microfinance and in terms of the positive impact of microfinance. There's been countless reviews, evaluations, even randomized controlled trials that show how microfinance contributes to increased economic cooperation, how it impacts positively on self-employment, the remuneration from that employment, how it impacts positively on household consumption, on empowerment of women, on their decision-making.
A white paper was also released at the event by PwC in association with SIDBI on current status, challenges and future of the microfinance sector. Apart from that, SIDBI and Equifax collaborated and launched a first-of-its-kind newsletter, Microfinance Pulse, to track the trends in the microfinance sector on disbursement delinquencies, state-wise distribution and top loan categories. The Congress also saw various technical sessions where a multitude of topics ranging from access to affordable credit, the true essence of financial inclusion, digital microfinance, women empowerment, entrepreneurship and emerging risks in the microfinance sector were discussed.
The cost of banks primarily is very low. So when you enable a platform that allows banks to lend to the last mile, in a fast, effective manner, this will enable that the cost which reaches to the last leg is at a lower rate.
What we are trying to do is, through this ambitious program called Prayas, Prayas, we all know the Hindi word, meaning is endeavor, the effort. This is SIDBI's Prayas towards bringing this down to a level which larger units amongst MSMEs, they are getting the loan at. Presently, MSMEs from 10 lakh and above, they are able to get loans at 14, 15%.
Need the development finance institutions, international ones, national ones like SIDBI, international ones like my own organization, to provide cheap money for experimental, either grant or subsidized money and tolerant money that is there to allow those that engage with micro-entrepreneurs to experiment, to try out new products, to try out new partnerships. We've already heard about new partnerships here.
We will also ensure that guy is trained and that guy, we will give them a contract for minimum 2 years or 3 years in such a way that he can see his stable earnings coming through, right? Through a proper contract.
In India at least, mainstreaming with scheduled commercial banks would definitely bring down the cost of operations, cost of actual funds. Secondly, reduce the operational costs.
We are working as an institution to try and do the best that we can in bringing a cost of funds down so that we can pass it on to our customers and to our partners to bring our operating costs down in the microfinance business, which has been a constant sense of achievement over the years.
Is digital really a comfort factor for the last mile client, or it is just being thrust upon it?
I perceive that pricing regulations in India tend to be way more conservative, excessive, towards protecting the interest of the customers. Whereas in Kenya, it's like almost like a free market. Anybody can charge anything. So M-Pesa was able to charge even like 4.5% towards the remittances, which was excessive. So I think we have to find a balance. Where's that balance between the viability of a market player's operations versus customer need to protect.
Last June, there are 6 crore merchants across India. The number of POS machines accepting payments is in few lakhs. So there is no
Even
acceptance.
if they want to save and want to deposit, the digital infrastructure is
So there is a dichotomy which is there about digital.
You have these overheated certain pockets, and there banks, meaning banks, both universal bank and SFBs, and different kind of MFIs are competing, and that's not a very healthy sign.
The only way to reach there is through the MSME growth. This vehicle has to happen.
Most of the MFIs today are doing cashless disbursals, which means that they are engaging their customers with a bank account in some sense or the other. So effectively, the customer is getting into a financial literacy, which we talked about earlier, kind of a process, and getting engaged with a formal bank account also.
See, the idea basically is to create a platform where everybody, from regulator to policymaker to participating institutions, academicians, researchers, everybody comes together and deliberate on what is going on in the sector, what are the learnings, what is the challenge, what should be the vision, and which way we should make progress.
An eminent panel discussed innovations and the emerging need for accessible digital technologies. The event also witnessed interactions with 3 international sector experts: Xavier Martin, professor at Digital Frontiers Institute; Sumedha Nalia from PT Bank Mandiri, Indonesia; and John Fisher from Acheon, who have shared their experiences in international landscapes and provided an outlook on recent global developments in the microfinance industry.
Algorithm is powerful mainly to detect fraudsters, and it's also a good way to start this progressive lending. And if you repay the first credit, then you will have a larger credit. But in terms of the actual capacity to pay, still, that's what microcredit does.
Indonesia is very renowned or famous for its large scales, ranging from the unregulated, to regulated finance. For example, Loan Shark Rosca Rotating Saving Credit Association is a kind of unregulated microfinance. And registered microfinance institution, multi-finance, people credit bank, commercial bank is regulated microfinance.
We're seeing a lot of is digital transformation of scaled, regulated financial institutions. And when we look around the world, we see many mature MFIs that have large customer bases, have great brands, have cash flows that any of the fintechs would die to have. But they're still struggling with how to combine, I think what was discussed earlier today, the tech and the touch, and how to really change a whole culture of an organization that is oriented around that physical touch and is not necessarily thinking about how to better serve the client through digitization. So more and more we're seeing scaled MFIs looking for help, support in order to try to digitize and improve their offering. We're focused on creating a financially inclusive world by investing, advising, and influencing. Directly and indirectly, we have about $450 million in assets under management focused on financial inclusion businesses. We invest at the seed stage in startup fintechs through our Acheon Venture Lab. We invest indirectly through our partners at Quona Capital in growth stage fintech for inclusion businesses. And we invest off of our own balance sheet through Acheon Global Investments in regulated financial institutions worldwide. One thing is embedded financials services. And what I mean by that is by connecting a financial product or service to e-commerce or to another product, you can very often accelerate uptake and provide something that the client really does want and gets an ancillary benefit from the financial product. I think more and more what we're seeing is real data on what people buy and sell is becoming digitized and is becoming available for financial institutions to use. So we're seeing electronic invoicing, we're seeing electronic tax payments, we're seeing mobile usage, POS, companies offering accounting software that they can layer on then lending services to those MSMEs, all in a way to lower cost, tailor products, and allow very often just-in-time finance.
The two-day SIDBI National Microfinance Congress 2019 has been organized recently in the financial capital of India, Mumbai, which provided a platform to microfinance communities to discuss ideas and solutions for building a robust microfinance sector. The event saw massive participation from more than 200 organizations and 300 plus national and international delegates. Technical discussions ranging from women empowerment through microfinance, a synchronized growth to mobilizing the entrepreneurial landscape to emerging risks in the microfinance sector in India took place, where panelists presented their insights.
For me, women is little more empowered if she and her children have access to safe sanitation facilities. She is little more empowered when she is delivered a financial literacy, okay, and she is more empowered if she is also given entrepreneurship or micro-enterprise management training kind of a thing by the MFIs.
First tool we used was look at life cycle needs. So that means basically they were never thinking about tomorrow, but they had to think about it that marriage will come, education of child will come, and maybe sickness will also come. So that is how that we use that as a tool. We designed our products like this: insurance for sickness, for health, for accident, for all other whatever were this life cycle needs or maybe urgencies.
I do think that the training, the skills, the information, the knowledge to use these tools is just as important. The freedom, the mobility as well. Can you go outside your village unaccompanied?
Women truly having the agency, the choice, and the opportunities to access whatever they'd like to access in order to advance their own status in society, as well as their own communities, as well as their families.
Recognition of a fact that women exist as far as Indian woman is concerned. She's a part of the society. I don't know, even in 70s, 80s, if somebody, some outsider comes at the home of rural woman and he knocks, and then her response is, "Ghar mein koi nahi hai." So those were the days. We have come of age, of course, now in last 3-4 decades. So recognition of the fact that she exists and is a part of the society. That is what empowerment is.
Fear perception, this fear of violence against me in personal spaces, in workspace and all, that is something which again is very disempowering for women. It limits their life opportunities completely. And that's something we don't factor in enough in all our programming.
For us, kindling entrepreneurial landscape is, can we build an ecosystem which can say, "Main hu na, I am there," and we can complement your effort to be an entrepreneur. So we started an umbrella program, which is, it's a missionary program for SIDBI. It's Mission Swalamban. Swalamban is inducing people to move from job seekers to job creator.
Social inclusion is the first step. So we definitely feel that the distinguishing factor is that women cannot be treated as beneficiaries anymore. They have to be treated as contributors and stakeholders of the economy.
I think there's post-2010, there has been a lot of developments in the sector which has made it much more robust. Credit bureaus are there, data is being captured, a lot of deduplication is happening. So I think there is, the level of risk is not as high as it used to be in 2008-9, but there are still issues of concentration risks and portfolio risks that are there that we need to be wary about.
So today the first risk that I see is that there is different regulation for different type of institutions operating in the same sector. So like the regulation says 3 NBFC MFIs, which can actually be interpreted very differently by the institutions which are operating there.
So you see, today it is expected that lending will become digital, right? I mean, banks moved into the field of digital accounting quite a while ago, but lending was still something, which was happening in the physical world. But making lending digital, the whole objective is to make it a seamless experience for the customer and make credit accessible to the customer at a very low cost and at a time and place of his choosing. And that is what we believe we have achieved.
It's a great initiative where you bring all the stakeholders together, because microfinance institutions, they are doing a great service to the country. It's a new sector actually. It is evolving very well. It is growing very fast. And it is the time when we need to bring all the stakeholders together for better regulation, like what is the way forward. So it's a very good initiative by SIDBI.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.